What's one unsolved mystery you'd like to see solved before you die? Are we alone in the universe? Antimatter. Why is the universe almost entirely matter, when equal amounts of matter and antimatter should have annihilated each other? Where is the missing antimatter? Is there a slight difference between matter and antimatter particles that causes matter to last longer? Are there places in the universe primarily made of antimatter instead of matter, well outside the observable universe? MH370. I'm sure they'll eventually find the wreckage and have a better idea exactly what happened, but even today they're still finding old World War II ships and even ships older than that. So I hope that it's found before I leave, because I do wonder what happened to that plane. I just hope it's a matter of years or decades, and not centuries. I just want to know who D.B. Cooper is. I know it's lame, but I'm curious. My wife's missing brother. I met him in 2009 while I was visiting Costa Rica. He was a local and befriended me. Shortly before my trip was over, he introduced me to his sister, now my wife. I left for about 8 months before returning, and he disappeared in that time. He is a kind soul, and is the only reason I met my wife. I wish we could find him, or at least find out what happened. His mom lights a candle for him nearly every night, for the last 12 years. It's heartbreaking. I'd like to know what happened to Andrew Gosden. A 14-year-old boy left home in Yorkshire one morning in 2007 dressed in his school uniform, and then withdrew all his money from his bank account. He went back home after his parents had gone to work and changed out of his uniform, then went to the train station and bought a one-way ticket to London, about 2 hours away by train. There is CCTV footage of him leaving King's Cross station, but that's the last time he was seen. He didn't tell his parents he was planning to go to London, and it's never been established why he went there. I'd love to find out he's actually okay, or even if not for his parents to finally find out what happened to him. My best friend's little brother disappeared from an army base last July. Good or bad, I'd like to know what happened to Private Richard Halliday. The disappearance of Willian Terrell, basically a 3-year-old kid, was kidnapped in his front yard after the foster grandma went inside for a glass of water and she heard screaming from the sister, and when she ran out he was gone. This happens around 2014, and I still remember his face on the news in his Spider-Man costume. I would love to see how a black hole works before I die. We know it sucks in all the matter to the singularity, but we don't know where it goes from there. Finding how a black hole works will change the understanding of the universe itself. I hope it happens during my lifetime. What are the Mormons keeping in their vault that's surrounded in granite and heavily guarded? What happened to the Beaumont children? Changed the way parents in my hometown thought about letting their kids out on a weekend forever. Where did the Nazis stack the entire amber room from St. Petersburg Palace? The disappearance of Amy Bradley. We grew up on the same street and played together as kids. The loss was devastating to her family. Isabella Stewart Museum art recovered. Disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Delphi murders. That video is too compelling for Bridge Guy to not be found. Not all of the Egyptian pyramids have been full explored. I'd like to know what's in and under those pyramids. Also, what is hidden deep in the Vatican's archives? I'd like to know that too. And while we're here, what about the mystery of the missing packet whenever you send something over the internet? What is dark matter? Or better put, what about physics do we not understand that is causing the effects we see, that we attribute to dark matter? The Alps murders, as they're known in the UK. An English family on holiday in France are assassinated with an old pistol with accuracy that points towards a professional hit. A cyclist is found murdered in the same lay-by-two by the same weapon. The assassin thought they had tied up all loose ends until after 8 hours on the scene the French police found their 4-year-old daughter hiding under her dead mother's legs. 9 years later there's still no clue over who or why they were all murdered. GQ did the best article about it. The identity of my half-brother's murderer. As someone from Columbus, the disappearance of Brian Schaffer. It kills me that all these years later there still isn't a definitive answer to what happened to him. I really hope the case gets solved in my lifetime. I would like John Walsh to be able to find the person who murdered his son, the reason behind Code Adam. Being raised in Florida in the 80s, this story was heard so many times. Now with what John Walsh has been doing my entire lifetime, and currently with Gabby Petito's case, I think he's more than earned it. As someone from Chicago who loves unresolved mysteries, I would say the Max Headroom broadcast signal intrusion, but at this point I don't think we will ever find out who was behind it. It's been over 30 years and we still have no idea who was behind that incredibly bizarre hijack. There was a thread a while ago of someone that thought they had figured it out that seemed very possible, but it was updated and they were ruled out as suspects. Here is the infamous video, for those that have never seen it. What happened to Isabella, Ariel, Kalua? How does a 6-year-old go missing and after a week of search parties her parents just stop looking because they have to go to work? I'd search day and night until I knew where my babies were. I'd like to know who murdered my sister in 1984. The Voynich Manuscript. The disappearance of Sandy Irvin and what's on the camera he was carrying. Sandy Irvin and George Mallory attempted to summit Everest in 1924. Mallory was discovered in 1999 but the body of Irvin is still missing. What caused the Bronze Age collapse? I know that it is a bit esoteric but I really want to know for sure. There are a few interesting theories but no definitive answer. Where the hell is Jimmy Hoffa? What happened to Shelley Miscavige? How 4 beers equals 80 liters of piss? 3n+1 getting finally approved. What is the disturbing hurtful event that my Uncle Bill won't talk about and what does it have to do with me? I was adopted out. Found my birth mom after she had died and the rest of her family defers to Uncle about not talking to me because of that event. Come on Uncle, it's been over 57 years. How this lawyer in Argentina managed to shoot himself in the back of the head twice in a locked bathroom days, hours before he was going to depose the former PM of Argentina. The boy in the box. Closing square bracket opening parenthesis. His body was exhumed a couple of years ago to obtain DNA for forensic genealogy. I just want the poor little thing to have his name back. Whoever he was, I hope someone remembers him and still thinks about him. Whatever happened to my Stone Temple Pilots Purple CD from 1994? The Planet 9 Mystery aka Planet X. A girl from my hometown, Tupelo, MS, disappeared under suspicious circumstances, blood and hair found, glasses left behind, etc., on a school day when we were both about 12. I'm 39 now. Her name is Lee Oki. Her body was never found. She used to come to school with obvious signs of physical abuse. No one was ever charged. It still breaks my heart. I need to know what happened. Jack the Ripper and Zodiac Killer. What happened at the end of the Bronze Age? Like, who were the Sea People? Tupac Shakur's and Christopher Wallace's murder cases to be solved. What really happened to Amelia Earhart? Where Ian Brady buried Keith Bennett? I doubt we'll ever know now unless someone happens to stumble over his remains. But my heart aches when I think of that poor boy's mother being tormented by his killer until the end of her life. It's something like 95% of UFO sightings are explainable. Things like an airplane, drones, military flares and even ball lightning are commonly mistaken for UFOs. But what about the other 5%? I mean the tic-tac UFO is really compelling. What the hell are UFOs? What happened to the famous Alcatraz escapees? Whatever happened to Johnny Gosch, a boy who disappeared from Des Moines, Iowa in 1982 when he was 12 years old? What happened to Kyron Horman? I live in Oregon and have a son his age. What happened to him? Stepmother or someone else? What happens when you die? MH370 undoubtedly. DB Cooper story is interesting but I doubt it will ever be solved, so I want to go with MH370 disappearance because I imagine the wreckage will be found in the next 60 years. Jack the Ripper.